The Xbox Spring Sale has just landed onto the Xbox Store, and there are over 2,000 games on sale for you to look at. Of course, with this many games on sale, it can be hard to whittle down which discounts are really worth it, so today I've managed to narrow down my favourite 15 must-have games, and these are all at the lowest prices that we've seen to date. Before we dive in though, I will be giving away a couple of codes for Holdfast Nations of War on your Xbox consoles. All you have to do is just comment below and let me know your favourite gaming moment, and you're going to be automatically entered. I'll then pick a lucky subscriber's comment next Wednesday, so make sure to stay tuned. With that, my name is Fletcher, and this is Xbox Nation, and let's dive into the huge spring sale on the Xbox Store you need to check out right now. First up today, we have Hideo Kojima's Death Stranding, which remains one of the most unusual and thought-provoking games that I've played in recent memory, and the director's cut version which I'm highlighting today actually took that vision even further. In this one, you do of course guide Sam Porter Bridges across a hauntingly beautiful wasteland, reconnecting scattered settlements through determination and ingenuity. The experience mixes exploration, strategy, and then a unique asynchronous multiplayer element that lets players subtly assist each other across different worlds. This version enhances nearly every aspect with some brand new gear, combat options, and even bonus missions that deepen its emotional and mechanical complexity. It's now available outside of that PlayStation ecosystem, of course. I believe it arrived about a couple of years ago now. It was great to see, and I know so many more players have now been experiencing Kojima's artistry. We have seen a discount in this game before. It usually sits around that 50% mark, but a new sale has now brought it down even further. You can now grab it at 65% off, and it's sitting at just £12.24, which is an utter bargain. Silent Hill F launched at the tail end of 2025, and since then we've only seen a couple of sales here and there, and they've certainly not been steep by any stretch of the imagination. This spring sale though, we are actually seeing a huge 50% off for Silent Hill F, which is kind of mind-blowing considering it only launched a few months back. If you're unfamiliar with this one was actually set in the 1960s of Japan, and the decay here blooms instead of rots. There are these parasitic flowers which are creeping over everything and basically turn the world into something quietly wrong. The story leans heavily into psychological unraveling rather than cheap jump scares, and every environment here feels like a metaphor half understood, with many even saying it could be a potential Game of the Year candidate because it was that blimmin' good. There are also multiple endings and playthroughs to experience, and apparently the game gets better and better the more that you play it. At £35, it is such a great price point, and even a great discount for a widely loved entry into the Silent Hill franchise. Now, one of the wildest discounts that you can grab for this week is for Dead Island 2, and to me this is an immediate purchase if you don't already own it. Dead Island 2 is currently listed for £4.50, and that is borderline absurd for the amount of content you get here. The game itself is unapologetically gory and over the top, and it's set in a sun-soaked version of Los Angeles that somehow makes zombie dismemberment look even more colourful and brought to life. The combat is going to be the real hook here, as every weapon feels weighty, and that flesh system they introduced makes hits look properly brutal and utterly gory. It's not trying to reinvent the storytelling elements, instead this game is more about its satisfying and crunchy combat and those chaotic encounters. I always do recommend the Ultimate Edition when that goes on sale due to the added content, which is really good, but if you're just looking to dive into a cooperative zombie game with some over-the-top combat, then 90% off this week makes it a decent pickup for the base version alone. You may have heard me mention this next game before, but Roguebook is honestly one of my favourite deck building games of all time. It is currently down by 90% off this week, and for just £1.60. I could certainly not skip this deal because it's that blimmin' good. If you're unaware, Roguebook is a compelling mix of strategy, deck building, and exploration, and it delivers surprising depth in every run. You essentially command a team of two different heroes whose cards, positioning, and abilities must then be combined in creative ways to overcome increasingly difficult enemies. The map itself is revealed as well using ink to paint new paths, encouraging strategic planning both in and outside of combat. There are hundreds of cards for you to collect, loads of relics, and even combinations, and no two runs here are ever the same. I mean, I haven't even come across the same runs, and I've been playing it for multiple hundreds of hours at this point. Again, this is one that is now available in the sale for just £1.59, and that is a steal. I do recommend it, especially if you love games like SteamWorld Quest, or even the massive indie hit known as Slay the Spire. Painkiller was another game that landed onto Xbox last year, and although it wasn't really that well received at the time, there has been a ton of improvements since launch, which have put the game in such a better state, and we even have new ones coming within the near future. If you remember though, Painkiller was a reimagining of that classic franchise. It featured court play for the first time with up to 3 players, but it now includes full offline support and has you battling hordes of demons and titanic terrors across across richly detailed gothic environments. I personally had a ton of fun with this one, even though it certainly didn't run that well on Xbox at the time. It kind of plays like Doom and Darktide, but since then it's been updated and it runs really well, and I would say it's probably getting on the same level as Darktide. I haven't played any of the other Painkillers before, but I would recommend this one, especially if you like those sort of Doom, Wolfenstein, or just fast-paced games, especially with your friends. I love the fact that the weapons here have really cool designs to them, and it's cool that you can also upgrade them in the way that you like. Of course, I do know that co-op was a very big stance of contention, just because you can actually play this one offline at its launch, but things have changed now, and for 75% off is a really decent pickup. If you're still in the mood for another fast-paced FPS, but you don't fancy Painkiller, or you already own it, then let me introduce you to Metal Eden. This is a striking entry into the sci-fi action genre, and it arrived from a pretty small dev team. It is an atmospheric blend of combat, narrative, and exploration, all wrapped up in a dystopian world, and it really gives me some massive Doom vibes crossed with something like Marathon. You essentially play as a soldier turned rebel, fighting to reclaim a planet that's been consumed by its own creations. The gameplay is a massive highlight, and it has to be if it takes inspiration from games like Doom, so you can expect a lovely balance of fluid melee combat with tactical shooting, which then demands your quick reflexes and adaptability. It is only £9 after a 50% discount, and that's actually the best price I've actually seen for this game since its launch, and that's just fantastic value for the amount of quality and content you're getting here. I loved my time in this game, and it was really such a shame that it's gone so under the radar, as it's so brilliant. If you know me by now, I'm a real sucker for games made by 11-bit studios, and one of their most recent releases onto consoles that I also had the pleasure of reviewing was Frostpunk 2. This landed onto Xbox consoles last year, and if you're a strategy nut just like me, then this is easily one of the best strategy games available on your Xbox consoles. This one though thrusts you into a world that's been taken over by a brutal ice age, and it's your job as the new steward to guide your people through this harsh land and rebuild New London. The game has such deep and really shocking moments within the choices you have to make, and that's easily why so many people really love the Frostpunk franchise. I've never played the first entry, but now I'm really hooked up on playing the second one, and it easily sits in my top 10 games of 2025 overall. The performance on Xbox is also now rock solid thanks to some great updates, and for the low price of just £20 this week is an easy recommendation. For something completely different, and if you want a game that takes Arthurian legend and corrupts it into something bleak and hypnotic, then you need to pick up Tainted Grail: The Fall of Avalon as soon as possible. This isn't a game about shiny armor or round tables. Instead, it's a world grasping for air where faith and decay coexist. You'll battle twisted knights, wander around haunted moors, and even uncover stories that are drenched in moral ambiguity. It's a slower and heavier RPG. It's got part open world exploration, part nightmare folklore, and it massively leans into the Skyrim elements that we've always wanted. It is £22.50 with a 40% discount. It's a bit of an investment still, but it definitely earns it through mood and imagination, and it's still a cracking price point. Tainted Grail, as I mentioned, is the kind of Skyrim follow-up that I always wanted, and the recent updates and improvements make this an insane pickup. You can also check out my full review on it and understand why it was one of my favourite RPGs back in 2025. Going for just £9 at 60% off, Jusant is a peaceful, meditative climbing adventure game that stands out, really because of its simplicity and its beauty. It was a shame when it got removed from Xbox Game Pass, but now for its low price, there's no reason for you not to pick it up. This one includes no combat, and instead it focuses on just you, the wall, and then the journey of an atmospheric world that reveals itself as you ascend the world. It's a bit like Journey crossed with Celeste, only slower and more contemplative. What kept me playing though was how tactile it feels, how every handhold matters, and every new vista is totally rewarding, and the way the narrative just unfolds without a single line of dialogue is genuinely impressive as well. It's not a massively long experience. I think it clocks in about a 5 to 6 hour mark, but it's one of those sort of incredible journeys from start to finish, and it's well worth it. If you're after something completely calm and reflective with some stunning art direction, then this one deserves a place within your Xbox library. Evil West is up next, and this is one of those games that just leans fully into what it really is. It's a straight up old school action experience with no distractions. You do step into the boots of a vampire hunter, which is equipped with all sorts of guns, gadgets, and then there's a ridiculously satisfying electric gauntlet. For me, the combat is going to be the highlight of the game. It's very fast, aggressive, and just really fun. You'll be smashing enemies into the ground, but it really never loses its appeal, and it kind of mixes it with a supernatural element, which gives it a strong identity as well. The enemy designs are really great, the boss designs are actually fantastic as well, and they do push you quite a bit, especially on those harder difficulties. For me, the progression was a little bit more simple on the side. It is effective, you do unlock new abilities and combos, it's a little bit basic though, but hey, it does the job. The story isn't anything special either, but it kind of fits the tone well, and it really reminds me of the good old days with the classic 360 era single player adventures. At £9, this is an absolute steal, and is a perfect price point for this style of action game. I have mentioned quite a few different FPS games today, but it seems a lot of them are actually down by quite significant discounts. Another one which I'm going to be highlighting is set within the dark, grim underbelly of Warhammer 40k's Hive City. Necromunda Hired Gun is a very fast-paced, brutal FPS where chaos reigns supreme. You will be playing as a bounty hunter, tearing through gang hideouts with cybernetic agility, and even abilities such as wall running, grappling, and so much more. This is one of those that is certainly a lot more violent than the others on this list, but that's kind of the whole point of it. It's unapologetically over the top, and it kind of has to be if it does want to hit that 40k tone correctly. The gunplay feels so satisfyingly crunchy, with a mix of classic shooter design and even modern flair, and it's just so smooth, which is definitely a change from that rough launch. At just under £5 after an 85% discount is an easy buy. Just don't expect a great story here, as it really is more about the gunplay and also the movement. If you've been missing the golden era of 3D platformers, then Akimbot today is one that you need to keep your eye on, as it really did tap into that feeling, but with a great modern twist. It's much bigger, louder, and a lot faster than the other games within the genre. You basically play as a cool little robot mercenary called X, who seems to enjoy blowing things up a little too much, tearing through vibrant sci-fi worlds packed with loads of enemies, gadgets, and really over-the-top moments. What I really liked about it with my time with it is it does blend shooting and platforming, and it genuinely feels like something out of the PS2 era, which we don't really see a lot anymore. It never takes itself too seriously either, and I think that's where all the charm comes from. Every sort of level here is really colourful, chaotic, and just full of personality, and I really didn't expect it from such a small indie studio. At just under £5 with a 70% discount is going to be an easy recommendation, especially if you want something more fun and nostalgic, but with a little bit of that modern edge to it. You can think of it like Ratchet and Clank with a bit of Mega Man thrown in, and it's exactly the sort of game you're going to be getting here. Isonzo is up there with being one of my favourite FPS games for this entire generation, and that's because it does such a great job of dropping you into the rarely explored Italian front of World War I. It basically offers a more grounded tactical multiplayer shooter that values your teamwork over twitch reflexes, and is very similar to stuff like Hell Let Loose, and even sprinkles of Insurgency Sandstorm. What is awesome is that each match is a gritty tug-of-war of trenches and coordinating assaults across these stunning alpine landscapes. That focus on authenticity is utterly remarkable, and of course the more coordination between your squads mean you can win more matches. Trust me, please use your proximity chat in this, because it can get utterly wild. While it's nothing like the modern day shooters of Call of Duty or Battlefield, it really carves out its own niche and captures the atmosphere of World War I better than most games out there. Deadzone Rogue is one of those games that I purchased on a random whim during the winter sale a few months back now, and it's easily become one of my favourite FPS roguelikes out of nowhere. This is a roguelike, but probably has one of the best loops I've ever experienced within the genre. The build variety and drip feeding and powers throughout the game is done so incredibly well. I do kind of wish there was a little bit more progression within this game, as filling out tech trees can feel a little bit too easy. However, with everything else the game presents here, I think it's done so blooming well, and I can easily look past those minor flaws. There's quite a few roguelike FPS games on the market these days, and unfortunately most of them do end up feeling pretty identical due to their lack of build variety, which this game does incredibly well, hence why it stands out from the crowd. I loved it so much, I would even say it's an 8 out of 10 experience that could easily be even a 10 out of 10 if there's just a little bit more creativity within the weapon designs or even the enemy designs. Definitely don't miss this one though, even though it's not the largest discount we've ever seen, it's probably one of the best games on this entire list today. This next game is a huge indie gem on Xbox, and if you somehow have not played it yet, then you definitely should pick this one up for this week. The Gunk is a delightfully paced sci-fi adventure that takes you on a colourful journey across an alien planet buried in grime. As Rani, an off-world scavenger with a high-tech glove, your job is to essentially just clear out the mysterious Gunk smothering the environment and then restore life to its lush and vibrant state. What makes the Gunk stand out though is a satisfying loop of exploration and restoration. The game also features some really sharp writing alongside a relaxed pace, and even a cozy tone which nails home that light-hearted message about the environment. It's got some cool light puzzles as well, it's very little in the combat stress, and it's really easy to pick up for casual players or just those of you looking to unwind after a hard day at work. is now just £2, and this is such an easy recommendation for such a bite-sized but memorable adventure. Are there any game pickups you recommend in this Xbox spring sale? Do let me know down below, along with your purchases, as I'm always keen to hear what you guys are playing at this moment in time. Do make sure to hit that like button as well if you did enjoy this sales video, and subscribe for more Xbox content on a daily basis, as we're getting ever so close to that 100,000 subscriber mark. Whilst here though, do make sure to check out the huge Xbox news that occurred over the past couple of days, as you won't want to miss a potential new addition to that Game Pass library.